Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, there's a viral video making the rounds purporting to show President Obasanjo fleeing the country. So I shall play you a clip of that video now, and then we'll come back and discuss it some more. So there you saw President Obasanjo apparently fleeing the country. What you saw, of course, was President Obasanjo rushing to catch his plane. So you saw President Obasanjo rushing to catch his plane, and there's been pictures showing President Obasanjo in London as well. There's been people meeting him and taking selfies. So apparently, to all intents and purposes, President Obasanjo is actually in London now, because he's been spotted at the airport and he's been spotted at Heathrow. So to all intents and purposes, and based on this evidence, which is not verified, but we're going by these evidence, so based on these evidence, President Obasanjo is apparently in London. So now that's fine. Former President Obasanjo being in London is not an especially big deal. It's not breaking news. President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo that is a frequent traveler. He has traveled around the world twice, and he will almost certainly again travel around the world. So he's always in and out of the country. So President Obasanjo traveling to London is not especially breaking news. But the timing of that travel, though, is what is exciting the fake news purveyors. So now, because President Buhari has just recently apparently won the presidential election, that then is what people would have us believe, the purveyors of fake news would have us believe is the reason that Obasanjo has felt the need to flee the country. So now let's pause for a moment and examine that. Who exactly is this President Obasanjo that felt the need to flee the country as a result of Mohammadu Buhari winning a second term? Now, President Obasanjo, of course you will remember, is a former military man. He fought in the Civil War, you will recall, on the side of Nigeria. He subsequently went on to become the military head of state of Nigeria. He was the first military head of state, by my recollection, to hand over to a civilian regime. He then subsequently came back to become the civilian president of Nigeria, and he then went on to rule Nigeria for 2 terms. So President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo, is the longest serving Nigerian president. He is the president that has ruled and served the country for the longest period of time. I think in total he has had governance of that country for well over 9 years, or approximately 9 years, and that's the longest. The second and the closest to that was Babangida, by my recollection. So now, why would somebody of that pedigree feel the need to flee the country because Buhari won the election? Now, President Obasanjo, of course, was completely against Buhari serving a second term, and he was quite vocal in his objection to Buhari. He was not only vocal, he actually actively campaigned against Buhari, but then he is entitled not to want Buhari to serve a second term. He is Nigerian after all, and he has vested interest in his own country, and is not just some ordinary Nigerian. He's a 2-term ex-president of the country, and that entitles him to, if nothing else, to at least an opinion, and he has the freedom, of course, to express that opinion openly and freely. So now, if the expression of that opinion has necessitated him feeling endangered sufficiently for him to feel the need to flee the country, then that doesn't bode well for the Nigerian state. I can tell you that for certain now. That does not bode well for the Nigerian state, because if in exercising his freedom of speech, somebody of former President Obasanjo, that is, when I say president, I mean former President Obasanjo. So somebody of former President Obasanjo's esteem has felt the need to flee the country. What does that then say to the freedom of speech of the average Nigerian? You know, because if somebody of President Obasanjo's standing cannot enjoy the luxury of free speech in Nigeria, then would be tied the rest of the country in a voice and opinion other than a rankadede to the Fulani man, you know. So really that is the state of the country now. But of course, President Obasanjo has not fled the country. President Obasanjo has left the country, as he routinely does. President Obasanjo has traveled around the world at least twice, and he almost certainly will again. So clearly there's a need for him to be in London for whatever reason, private business, whatever reason. So there's need for him to be in London. So he is in London now. And when that need for him to be in London has been satisfied, he will be back in Nigeria. That almost certainly is what is going to happen. And that almost certainly will happen in the next few weeks or so. So now I wonder what the purveyors of fake news will say when in 2 weeks or a week or 10 days time, President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo that is, then returns to Nigeria. No doubt they will then say that he has negotiated his return back to Nigeria, because that is how these people work. And no doubt we will soon see Adams Oshiomhole on television talking about how Obasanjo has fled and how Obasanjo is now begging him to return back to Nigeria, because this is how the template of the country works. But really, it really jars the senses, some of the things that you read in some of this news sometimes. And really, it does not speak well to the Buhari regime if it was indeed the case that President Obasanjo has felt the need to flee the country, because we've already gone through his CV: military man, former head of state, both head of state and then former and then subsequently democratic president. So if somebody like that has felt sufficiently threatened to feel the need to flee the country, then that does not speak well of the Buhari regime. Certainly not. But of course they will claim it's their anti-corruption stance and all whatnot. But again, I repeat, President Obasanjo has not fled the country. President Obasanjo has left the country, and President Obasanjo will be back in the country when the reasons for him having to leave the country has been satisfied. He will be straight back to his farm in Ota. This is exactly what is going to happen. You know it, I know it, and the purveyors of fake news know it as well. So what say you? What do you make of this fake news and the sort of fake news that we're going to be hearing over the next few weeks or so? Let's have a conversation about fake news in the comment section. But before you go to the comment section to speak to me about fake news, please remember to click on the subscribe button so we can keep the YouTube algorithm happy. That way we're able to invite more people into our conversation and expand our discussion. So click on the subscribe button, then come join me in the comment section where we carry on this conversation about fake news. So I'll leave you here, meet you in the comment section, and I'll say peace.